or the official title for this. And then they heard Perry was here, and now they just said all the cool stuff with Microsoft. So we got Chris Perry.
Yep, I'm Chris Perry. I've been with High Point for almost 10 years now. I deal with all of the Microsoft 365 suite.
And Chris Watson. I've been with High Point a little bit over 11 years now. And deal with all things O365. Microsoft kind of encompass that whole area and give Perry, the smart person, the individual tasks of Intune. So Microsoft 365, what's new, what's coming out. If you were at our earlier session today, Microsoft Ignite is the week before Thanksgiving. So it's in person in Seattle, or you can do it virtually. I would register virtually and kind of go, what interests me, and get some good info out of that. What I have up here that's new is some of the stuff that I had learned in the last couple of months, but I know that week before Thanksgiving at Ignite, everything will be announced a lot more. Here now, in Teams, we got avatars. Anybody play with their avatars yet? Nobody. We did it at High Point, and then we got told we couldn't with customers, so. There's my avatar right there.
You got Clippy.
I got Clippy, yep. So it took a while to get it done. I mean, there's so much that you can change. It's a time waster for your employee if they got nothing better to do. It really is, to set up their avatar.
Yeah, I spent about 2 hours setting mine up, and when I got done with it, I realized it looked just like one of our other employees.
Heinen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were working with Chris Heinen, our other Chris in our little area, the Chris Cubes. And then when you talk through your microphone, the mouth will actually move as well. You didn't ask your question.
Oh, well, yeah, so are these stationary other than the mouth's moving?
Nope, there's about 30 animations you can do. Oh yeah, it gets better. I mean, you can do the wave, you can, say hello, you can do a dab in there. Oh yeah, it's great. You can do a golf clap, yes. So play with it. I mean, for some people that don't want to turn on their camera, it's a good way for them to still engage and stuff like that. I'm one, I don't like to turn on my camera a lot, and it's just, I don't know, personal preference. So. Then we have Teams web links. So a lot of times when you're working in Teams, you're chatting with somebody or you're in a meeting, you'll get a web link to open up. Then you open that up in another browser and you're still going back and forth between Teams chatting and stuff like that. They kind of simplified it a little bit, if you would say that, where if you click on a link, it's going to open up Edge. And then in the edge on the side is going to be your Teams chat that you click that from. So in one browser, you can go through the site with the person and still talk with them on the other side. Now, for this to work, obviously, I mean, it just doesn't work like magic. I mean, we got to do some stuff. Edge has to be your default browser. And you have to sign into Edge with the same account that you are signed into Teams with. So some people, have signed into Edge with their personal account, not knowing, you're shaking your head like, oh God. Their personal account, and they're going to go, why isn't this working? Because you shouldn't have used your personal account, all that fun stuff. So again, it's getting pretty cool, between the avatars that, what's the filter, or what is it called with the monkey on the shoulder? Or not the monkey, sloth on the shoulder.
Oh, yeah, they also have like Snapchat style filters where you can have a sloth sitting on your shoulders and
or
all the
cat
weird
on
stuff
your
you
head,
can do.
a chicken on your head.
All the weird stuff you can do on your phone, you can now do in Teams.
Yep. So, get that younger, generation just going to pound on all the stuff that they love to do. So a lot of new stuff coming out in Teams again. Here now, Windows 11. Who installed the Windows 11 update that came out 2 weeks ago? played around with it at all? Well, we're gonna talk about some of that. Copilot. So Windows 11 Copilot is not Office 365 or Microsoft 365 Copilot. That Copilot, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, is still coming out, and it's more for like the Office apps and stuff like that. Copilot in Windows 11, basically you click on it and it comes up in a little side panel. Hey, what are you trying to do? What can I help you with? Honestly, it looks like Cortana in a side window, but actually useful. But the only way I can really explain it. And again, it came out 2 weeks ago, so I really can't just say, hey, it's great, it doesn't work, it works. I haven't really played with it all that much, but it's come out, it helps. Some people say, how do I change my desktop background? And I'll walk them through that, you know. How do I start a new file? Or, you know, some of the minor things that you get calls for and you're like, really? Seriously? Okay. Paint. So, if I remember correctly, weren't they talking about getting rid of paint at some time or at some point?
Switching to Paint 3D, I think it was.
Paint 3D? Well, it's back to just paint now. They do have it where you can actually take a snip from there and have it remove the background, put it into paint and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more like Photoshop and actually, you know, enhanced. But again, if you need Photoshop, you're not going to just use paint. You're still going to need Photoshop. But it makes it, you know, a little bit easier to do. Photos, I forgot to look that up last night. I'm not sure why I put this in here. There was a reason. And I think last night kind of erased some of those, so.
I'm sure it'll come to you.
Okay. I'll Google it later. I mean, I'll edge Bing it later. Notepad. How many use Notepad? How many use OneNote? How many kind of in between? They're trying to get Notepad a little bit friendlier. Like if you shut down your computer and you go, oh, I didn't save it, and you're just like trying to close everything to shut down your computer or restart it, and now your Notepad's gone. It's kind of saving some of that a little bit more. With that, you can also, with the clip and the paint and the Notepad kind of all together somehow. Again, it just came out, so I haven't done too much with it. You can take a screenshot of some text and then paste that into Notepad, and it'll be just the text. So like if you take a picture of a title on a web page or something, you can just put that in and then it'll create it just in text and stuff like that. So there's some neat stuff that's coming out with that. It's supposed to, save it if you close your computer and don't hit save on Notepad. It's supposed to save it and stuff like that. To me, Notepad is something that I use just to kind of look at some PowerShell scripts and stuff like that, or take a couple notes that I don't care that I'm going to save or not. OneNote's still going to be that more robust of, I want to keep a daily, a constant tracking of what I'm typing and stuff like that. File Explorer. When 11 came out, you got File Explorer opened up, and then it kind of said all your most recent stuff in your recent files, in the middle there. Well, if you've gone into Office at all, in the web, when you first log in, you can see up top these documents that people have worked on or you've worked on. That's what the new File Explorer looks like. It puts those documents up top. You still have your recents there, but it has your documents up there. So it makes it look like when you log into Outlook or Office.com that it shows those up there. So it's a little bit. They're making it more consistent. Let's put it to you that way. Clipchamp. What did we say that was called again before? Media. Yeah, Windows Media. So
Windows
again,
Movie Maker.
Huh?
Movie Maker.
Movie Maker. You can clip some of that stuff out and edit some video and stuff like that before you send it up to Steam. Again, you're not going to be able to do transitions and that stuff with it. I mean, if you still need to do a good photo type thing, you're going to need some transitions, stuff like that. You're still going to do kind of with, a professional type thing. But if you got a couple of videos and you trim them down, add them together, this works pretty good. Windows backup. Works great, right? I mean, Windows backup always works. They've changed how this is working now going forward. Does anybody here do well-known folder redirection into your employees' OneDrive? That's basically what this is. So if you're not doing that, I would suggest, setting up well-known folder redirection into OneDrive just on the back end automatically and doing that. This Windows backup is more for the consumer side. It's, you log in with your, Microsoft account, your personal Microsoft account, and you can back up stuff to it. It's not a full system backup. It is the well-known folders, your pictures, your documents, your desktop, your movies, stuff like that. The only problem with that is, anybody know how much OneDrive space you get with a free Microsoft account? Well, 50 gig, or 5 gig. You get pictures and videos and desktops and documents, that basically fills that up. So I've had to basically pull all my stuff out of my personal one just to kind of play with this a little bit because it was full.
So Watson, with the Windows backup, can you pick and choose which folders, or do you have to choose the well-known folders?
Well-known are selected by default, and then you can say, hey, I need these folders backed up as well, according to what I've seen. But yeah, but again, you're not going to be backing up your Steam gaming files, to have that up ready to go, You're not going to be backing up your program files or any of that stuff. It's just going to be those documents and pictures and stuff. Here, kinda here. Tenant-to-tenant migration, native with Microsoft. We've done a lot of tenant migrations, a lot of acquisitions, a lot of companies, they've had 2 tenants, they want to get into one. Microsoft now has a native tool. It's in preview right now. It will do Exchange, OneDrive, and SharePoint, but will not do Teams. It'll do the SharePoint site of that team, but it's not going to do anything else inside of Teams. We use a product called BitTitan, so if you're ever doing one with us, we use BitTitan, it works out great. You need an EA for licensing. Who's ever had to deal with an EA before? Fun, aren't they? So we can't even sell you the licensing because we don't sell EAs at High Point. So we have to go with another third party that we work with in order to even get that licensing. There's a minimum number. It's like, and each one, the Exchange, the OneDrive, and the SharePoint are all separate licenses, where the one we use, it's just one license and it does all of them. The Exchange, you can prep. The OneDrive and SharePoint, it's a big bang. You say, okay, you can't log in here, you log in here, and we'll get your data over there some point. So it's not a, hey, we're going to pre-stage this, it's going to be ready to go. It's, yep, here we go, do it on a weekend, and by next Friday it may be done, depending on some of the people you have. And it's in private preview right now. So you kind of have to sign up for it, you have to apply to do it and stuff like that. Not something we're probably going to do if you're needing a tenant-to-tenant, help with a migration type thing. And it does not do government, so you can't do government to government, you can't do consumer to government. So, cross-tenant identity sync. The next two are a B2B, business to business type thing. This one here, users can seamlessly, basically it's doing a lightweight sync. It's putting that user over as a contact, and you can send them emails, stuff like that, so it shows up as a contact where you don't have to, create a contact on both sides, and if they leave, oh, I got to remove them on the other side. Makes that nice little sync. Multi-tenant organization that they just came out with, users seamlessly collaborate across because it creates them as a guest user. So we have a company that we're probably going to start looking at this for. They have their main headquarter company, and then they've got 4 other little subset companies out there that are all have their own tenants. So there's 5 different tenants that they deal with. You know, how do you kind of keep those together, and how do you invite them in, and all of that fun stuff, where this basically creates them, does that sync and says, okay, we're gonna make them a guest user over here, and these people in here, we're gonna make a guest user over here. It basically ends up like a forest trust. If anybody had to set those up back when, you know, they were a lot of fun. We've had to use a third-party tool to do this before, but it makes it a little bit easier on this where there's no other third-party tool. It just works like magic, of course. How many of you guys have multiple tenants that you have to deal with? Fun, aren't they? Here tomorrow or whenever. AI, some now, some later. I mean, AI's been around forever, you know. One thing I kind of read was the AI is doing what it thinks it's right. I mean, it can only do what the person tells it to do, or kind of the information that it has received. So if it's gotten garbage information, you're gonna get garbage stuff back out, you know. Somebody teaches it to be hateful, you're gonna get, you know, Terminator Judgment Day at that point. Who's heard of the new Copilot that's coming? How many are really excited for it?
You just told us about it.
No, that was Windows Copilot. This is O365 Copilot.
Doesn't specify. Just saying.
You're right. No, you're right. I tell you what, I'll give you a prize. Just go into your High Point swag bag. Anything in there is yours.
Awesome.
Perfect. So Copilot is coming out more for the Office applications. I think that's what I have. So Teams is one of the big ones. I was out in Spain at a scholarship from Microsoft to sit down with them and talk about Teams and how Copilot's working with all of those. And the lead director of Copilot was there, and he basically, at Microsoft, there's only his team of like 30 people that can actually use it right now. But he talks that, you know, he had a kind of a session like this where he's breaking out. He did a whole Teams meeting so that, you know, it was recorded, all that stuff. Towards the end, he said, hey, what happened in this meeting? Summarize it for me. Copilot went through and said, these were all the breakouts. These were, you know, kind of what was said. And then you could say, hey, what kind of questions maybe were left open? What didn't get answered? And it gave him all of that. Copilot is going to come out as an add-on for whatever as far as I know, it's not going to be included in like E5s or E3s or anything like that. Cost of it, from what I've seen and from an actual publication, is that it's $30 per user per month. Now, you go, yeah, I was the same way, yeah, right. However, it does make sense in some of those areas where, like in our organization, you all know Tom and Justin. Probably would make sense for them because of all the meetings they're in. Your CEO, your, you know, financial officer, your project managers would be good for this. Your frontline worker or the person who just kind of sits in a cube all day is not going to need this. You're not going to pay the $30 for it. You're going to do it for those that need it. And then it comes with the Office, or, you know, you can put it into Office where you can put it in. He did a PowerPoint of, hey, I want to do a PowerPoint of a new building in this area with cost comparisons. And went out and found all that, put together a whole slideshow in like 10 minutes. Done. So what probably would take me or some other people like 2 hours or 3 hours got done in 10 minutes. Some of the emails that were going back and forth, it would automatically answer them, hey, are you free on the 3rd for this? And he would click, yeah, schedule it. And it would reply back saying, yep, I'm free, blah, 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 and make the appointment and everything else. So again, good for some of those, you know, C-level employees, the people that just, you know, are constantly reading email to help them get through those a little bit easier. Security, Microsoft's always had my Azure Sentinel. Has anybody heard of that, used it? Basically, it's their SIM. You can kind of put a bunch of stuff up there. It is nowhere friendly. I'll go to Arctic Wolf and say it's nowhere friendly like they are. It's not managed. You need to manage it. You need to set up the scripts for looking. You need to go threat hunting, stuff like that. With the new security, it's supposed to be where it looks at everything because they admit it, Microsoft's got everything on your computer. I mean, they know what you're doing, how you're doing it, what's going wrong, everything else. Where it looks at it and says, you know what, we're seeing this in a lot of different places. We're going to lock that out in all these places. So not just your tenant, but everywhere. So they're good and bad. Again, AI, it only does what you're kind of programmed it to do and what it thinks it knows what to do. New names, well, for this week. Azure AD is becoming Microsoft Entra AD. So you've got Entra ID free, Entra ID P1, P2, and then the external identities. And I think Azure external identities, they kind of were that B2B kind of thing, but they've just kind of made it the Azure AD external identities. One thing that also changed that I forgot to put on here was if you're in a hybrid scenario, you've got probably AAD Connect. Well, now it's Entra Connect. So next time, what's that?
Do we need to change the one that we have?
Nope. When you update it, it'll change from, AAD Connect to Entra Connect on its own. It's gotta, you just gotta love it.
I will say though that the AD Connect, the version that expired, the 1X version that went out of support in October, if you had the old version, it said that you needed to upgrade to Entra Connect, which was throwing a lot of people for a loop because it's a completely different name, but it's the same product, just a different version.
And they were talking to people doing the sync version of it, not the full-blown version of it, where the sync version is just a lightweight. It just kind of syncs some of those people up there. Doesn't do a lot of password, stuff. It doesn't do the write back. Doesn't do self-service password reset. Those types of things. It literally just is a little sync up there. So if you're in a hybrid situation, or even not in a hybrid situation with an Exchange server, I always say just go with the Entra Connect, not the sync or the lightweight version, just because it works good. It works better. You might as well have as much information up there as you want and have those extra features. Oh, I forgot to add questions there.
Any questions?
Thanks, man. I'd like to go through some other stuff. I just wanted to make sure that we got through this here. Exchange hybrid, how many are just so happy with that and wanting to get rid of it and, enjoy that part of the thing going away? 2025, end of life for Exchange?
October 2024.
24? Okay. So Microsoft has that long to figure out what they're going to do with hybrid, or if they're going to actually put out another Exchange server version. Yeah. They do have a solution for you, though. They have it's a wonderful solution. No, not even. It doesn't even cost you money. Seriously, it doesn't cost you money at all.
No email?
Huh?
No email?
No. It's even easier than that. You go in and to your Exchange server, you spin up a new server and you put an IIS relay on it because you always have those internal copiers, stuff like that you got a relay off of. So you put that over there. And then you also install Exchange PowerShell tools on that server. Then you shut your Exchange server off and never turn it back on again. Don't delete it. Don't, uninstall Exchange because it'll get rid of all those attributes that you need to sync up there. Just shut it off. And that, perfectly, never going to have anything wrong in 5 years when you need it back or whatever. That's their solution right now. If you call us to do it for you, we're not. We're not doing it for you, sorry. We will give you the document on how to do it, and you guys can do it because we do not want this to come back later, because it will. see, a lot of stuff that I had. I was in Atlanta last week for a tech conference, and we talked about, a lot of it was on security, of course. You know, the MGM thing, we all heard about that wonderful thing where somebody found out employee was on vacation through LinkedIn. They called the company, said, hey, I need my password reset. There was a bad actor called and said, hey, I'm this person, I need my password. Okay, yep, here you go, it's reset. And they got in, and then they had Okta, and the person, you know, yep, approve. I'm not logging in, but I'm just going to hit approve. And then from there, Okta had a vulnerability where you could literally just use that same token to log in as anybody. I mean, it works. I mean, it works nice. I mean, you can get right in. So that's where some of that has happened through that. I don't want anybody to raise their hands, but, you know, MFA, they're changing that from being text and phone based to the Authenticator app. They're kind of pushing it when you log in. Hey, we want you to use the Authenticator app rather than this other stuff. Again, it is secure. It's better, whatever. But you also have those people that are not going to do it, you know, whatever on their phone or, you know, however. So it is going to cause some issues in there. We do a lot with the Ubico keys and stuff like that. That works out really nice to kind of, you know, separate that out of, you know, hey, it's a company device. It's from this IP, you know, go ahead and trust it. It's on our internal network, perfect. If they want to take it home, well, now that you're doing it on personal time, you're going to need to put the Authenticator app on your personal phone because you need it, you know, so. What else, Perry?
Well, kind of going down that same road, you can also enforce authentication, sign-in strength in conditional access. So you can say that if you're logging in on your work computer, you can use normal MFA, but if you're logging in from a non-hybrid joint computer, at that time, you need to use a FIDO key. Like you can change what's required to sign in based on the device that you're signing in from through conditional access.
And location.
And location, yep.
So like right now, we have an out-of-country policy that basically says, hey, nobody can log in out of country. And when somebody goes out of country, we add them to that as an exclusion. And I went, it's kind of dumb because you're letting people put up pictures that they're out of country, and now the bad actor knows that they can log in from anywhere. So we're kind of rethinking that, retooling it of going, okay, if they're out of country, we want to make sure that they have their phone that is now a trusted device, probably has a company portal on it, because, I mean, if you're on vacation and you need to work, you know, most people do it from their phone. It's a couple of email things, stuff like that. And doing that way of it so that it's a little bit more secure at that point. Because obviously if they are out of country, we want to make sure it is more secure.
What level of Microsoft Office do you need to have those policy enforcements? Because I'm pretty sure we don't.
Conditional access comes with Azure AD P1,
Yep.
which is included in.
Like business premium.
Basic.
Okay, yeah, basic is.
And you can add that on for, I don't know. I don't deal with costs anymore, thank God.
I think Azure ADP one is, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's either $4 or $7.
yeah. It's between $4 and $100 per person. Depends on your account manager, to be honest with you. I mean, come on. You all know that. Oh, we got a question back there.
I got a virtual question. Is there a date when MFA is switching to app only?
Is there a date that Azure is switching, or MFA is switching to app only? I do not have a date for that. I have not seen something come across. I've just seen the pop-up now starting and stuff like that. What's the other thing?
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the MFA, and they want to go to the app, some of our users, we have dongles where it comes with a code on it. Will that still be available?
The question is, can you use like a dongle with a code on it? You can use that. You have to set it up in Azure. the IT person does, and you need to know the serial number and that pass key that comes with it. And basically you just go in and you say, I need to set this up, and you get it, you know, you put in the serial number of that and you hit, you know, add, you put it to the person that it's gonna be, and then up pops a thing that says, you know, what are the numbers showing? You put them in, perfect, yep, we're up to date.
So it won't be just the app, they can also use the.
Yep, they can use the dongles, and most of those are all supported. I haven't seen any, again, they're recommended ones, but because if you've got the serial number and that pass key or the secret key, you can use them. In fact, who was it? I think Kelly, who was our financial officer beforehand, he was down in Mexico, got a new phone before he left, didn't put the authenticator app on it, and couldn't do any of that. And I had one of those test ones on my thing where I put it in for him, got the code ready, he logged in, I gave him the code so then he could now log in and set up the MFA and set up everything else. So works nice, and then I deleted it because I really don't want that sitting on my desk for his, you know, code to log in. How many are using passwordless login? How many know what passwordless login is? Go to it, get going on it, it's awesome. Basically, when I go to log in, I go to, you know, one of our applications we've got tied in, or office.com. I put in my email address, and it goes, okay, pops up on the app, says put in 82 or whatever, I put in 82, I put my finger on the side, and I'm in. I never put a password in. Works really good against phishing. Why? Because your password is never shown to the bad actor. So go to it, work, and employees love it, you know. I never use my password anymore. I don't know what it is. I really don't. It's either, you know, saved, you know, in a web browser or saved in a password manager. So, I mean.
Is that just the 365 environment or Windows?
Windows Hello for Business. I like doing the PIN for the computers just because it works out nice. Again, you don't need to worry about their password. I mean, there are some situations where you can set up an account for a person on their first day, get them set up on the app, get them set up on the computer for PIN, and you could never give them their password. So how do they get phished? They can't. They don't know their password. They're going to go, I don't log in. What are you talking about? I don't have a password.
Yeah, and then if they do get a new phone, if everything's tied to passwordless for their phone, when they get a new one to set it up, you can give them a temporary access pass, it's called. And it's a 8 or 10 digit random password that's only good for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, however long you want to have it. And then that password just goes away. So they have to set up their passwordless in that period of time, but they never have to know their real password.
Yep. And on my phone that I just got, a Samsung phone, the Samsung transfer, because I had a Samsung to Samsung, actually moved over all my Microsoft stuff, and I didn't have to reset up my phone. So I'm not pushing Samsung, I'm just saying I know that transfer had that capability where I didn't have to do anything with that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? We still have 11 minutes. What else do we want to talk about, Barry? I spoke through the whole thing. You barely talked. Come on, man.
This is only the second time I've seen it.
How many were here earlier for the Intune stuff that Perry and I did? Talked some about Intune. There was only a couple here.
You got to sign up.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. Don't want to give away all your secrets. I get it.
Go back
We're on
on it.
Intune. We're currently a BlackBerry.
God, I'm sorry.
I know, right? But obviously we're just rolling out our 365 at our company. But in order to meet the exchange deadline and the life thing, obviously we're going to start hitting 365 really good or really hard the next year and a half. But been talking about doing is Intune thing. Am I able, can you go like from non-Microsoft vendor and transfer like stuff over to iTunes?
Intune?
Or Intune, yeah, Intune.
You could transfer it over to iTunes. I mean, if it's a video, I'm sure you could put it over there. I mean,
Probably figure something out.
Perry's video, you may be able to download, put it over on iTunes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if there's like an export, like a universal export thing or something that can grab whatever to move it over.
Yeah, so for the remote, the question is there something that they've already got an MDM solution for managing? Is there a way to easily migrate that over?
Are these BYOD or company-owned devices?
BYOD.
BYOD?
Yeah.
All right. In most cases, we can unenroll them from the previous MDM, install the company portal and enroll them that way. Whatever you have that's rolled out through BlackBerry is gonna get wiped off the device.
Sure.
And then it'll get re-added through the company portal.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's usually pretty painless on BYOD.
Okay.
Company-owned devices, going from MDM to MDM, fully managed, most of the time that it will require a wipe.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, BYOD is fairly painless.
Makes sense. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Is anybody using Intune for mobile device, any of that stuff? Do you let employees put email on their phones, their personal phones? Good way to kind of segregate that out is Intune with the company portal. So like at work here, I have a personal phone that they reimburse me for, but inside of that is the company portal. So if I want to go to email, Teams, some of the office stuff, OneDrive, all of that, it's inside the company portal. So I log into that, and it's now a sandbox over there. And then when that person leaves, we go retire, and it pulls that company portal off their phone, so nothing is stored on that phone anymore. Works awesome when you got people leaving. God, how much email do they have on their phone? All of that stuff. Yes.
For that sandbox feature, is that still the apps on the phone, or is that all web-based inside that sandbox?
Apps on the phone, right?
Yeah, is that, so like when you click into it, it would just bring you to basically an app selection page, but it's all inside one app?
So it works different on Android versus iOS. On Android, you have a separate work section that has the apps in there. So you can have a personal Outlook and a work Outlook. And the work Outlook doesn't talk to the personal Outlook, so it's completely sandboxed. On iOS, it just sandboxes the data. All of the apps live next to each other, but the app or the app data is sandboxed from the rest of it. So you can restrict, like you can say, I don't want people to be able to copy text out of an email and paste it into a text message. You can restrict it like that, and you can set up app protection rules. On iPhones, the apps don't look different at all. It's just the data that's sandboxed. On Android, everything is separate.
It still shows up like on my front screen of my phone. I see Outlook and I see Teams. It's not like I have to go somewhere else to get them.
And your user experience once you get in them, though, is the same?
Yeah, you have to go into the company portal or where, into the company side of it and say, here, pin this to my front thing. It's not going to just automatically put it up there like any other app. But yeah, you can say, pin this up to the front machine and stuff.
And that's with the BYOD devices or both?
BYOD, the company,
Is that what
I'm
thinking you're talking about BYOD right now?
yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, yep. Either, so Microsoft has an interesting way of naming that. So you can do a personal device or a company-owned work profile or personally owned work profile. Or you can do a fully managed device. So fully managed is where the company owns it. You can set everything. You can wipe the whole phone. on anything that has a personal device, you can only wipe the work apps off of it.
Perfect, okay, that's what I was just clarifying that, yep.
So yeah, I like it. It works really good. They're automating some of this, but when somebody would leave, you know, I'd have to go in and click a bunch of stuff. But you know, we're automating that now, where you know that'll take care of it. But I would always go in and retire the device to pull that off of there. Once we disable them and we pull back their access and stuff like that, if you don't retire that device, it can still be accessed up to 24 hours. So when you terminate someone or they leave, you always want to go in and go into Azure and say, you know, remove the MFA keys for these people, close all the sessions, take away all the tokens that they have. You know, if they've installed Office on their PC at home, you know, it's going to pop up and say, hey, you don't have a license for this anymore, those types of things. So, yeah.
So since that's company portal related, do you still get like the live notifications or alerts or anything like that? That still all works like everything else?
Yep. Yeah, I don't see a difference in it at all, except to where I have to go to get it to bring it up to the main screen.
Sure. Okay.
And that's just covered in the user Intune license, like is there an amount of BYO devices that a person could have? Or is there any, I haven't gone into that licensing part of, like,
So
I'm assuming they just have to have Office 365 or an Intune.
an Intune license, and then they can do 5 devices.
Okay, that's what,
And when they hit the limit, you can go in and delete their old devices.
okay. I was just curious, we don't have Intune yet.
It did that earlier, the fan, and it shakes. Me and Perry were having strokes up here because it'll move the letters.
That Intune is that outside of like the E3, E5 licensing? Is that separate?
If you have the M365, E3, E5, then it's there. It's in with Business Premium. If you're under 300 people with the Business Premium, that's where I would go. I mean, if you have frontline workers that, you know, hey, all they need is some email, look into frontline worker. I mean, it's $8 for the user and they get all the Intune stuff. You know, they can put it on their devices, all that. So look into some of those. I mean, if you haven't done a license reassessment in a while, let's do that. You know, let's figure out what you got, what you do, what you have, and kind of go through that, you know.
Someone gave her for it.
Yeah, that's it. Herder does that. Right. The account manager will do that.
Sure.
Yes. Yes. I'll tell Herner you said that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I think we're at the time and we can let everyone go. In fact, yep, it is 2:45 and I gotta head over to the other panel over there so you get to hear me again here in a little bit, so.
Thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you.
Great job.